Currently, there are approximately 20 billion animals inhabiting our world. If everything were ideal, we would have 5 billion more animals on Earth, but many species have gone extinct and disappeared from the face of the Earth. The most recent and largest mass extinction was a historic event that occurred during the age of the dinosaurs, which led to the eradication of 75% of species. So sit back, because today you will learn about the final encounters of extinct species. But before we begin, I want to invite you to subscribe to our channel and become part of our community. Don't forget to leave us a like. Let's start by describing a kangaroo that existed over 100 years ago, which had superpowered night vision. This is why they were mostly active at night. They stood 3 feet tall and fed on fruit leaves, grass, and other plants. These kangaroos lived in grassy areas near swamps and other bodies of water, but not for long. In the 19th century, their numbers had dwindled, bringing them to the brink of extinction. Only 14 of these kangaroos remained in the wild. In 1920, a rescue mission was launched to try to capture the last 14 specimens to protect them, but the situation quickly got out of control, and due to certain irresponsibilities in their care, 10 of these animals lost their lives. The remaining 4 were transferred to a special facility. There were reports of sightings of these animals after that, but no evidence was ever provided, so the creature was officially declared extinct. Short-faced bears were a unique species that lived in North America, particularly in Alaska. This species was an enormous bear that weighed around half a ton, reaching up to 12 feet tall, making it more than a foot taller than the largest bear today. This species was related to the polar bear, but the short-faced bear was different from today's bears, as most are omnivores except for polar bears. This imposing animal was strictly carnivorous, which ultimately led to its extinction. During the end of the Ice Age, many herbivores had disappeared, so these bears did not have enough food to survive. Another important aspect to mention is that these bears were faster than their current relatives, reaching a top speed of 40 miles per hour, which is 5 miles faster than the bears we see today. Some time ago in America, a species of birds called passenger pigeons was abundant throughout the country, especially in the eastern forests. In these areas, there were more than 1 billion of them, but they went from over 1 billion to literally 0 in just a few years. These animals had small heads and necks, but long tails and wings with strong muscles, allowing them to fly long distances. It's important to remember that the last passenger pigeon died in captivity in 1914 and was later named Martha. Moose are enormous animals, but they look small when compared to Irish elk, which disappeared long ago. This elk stood 7 feet tall at the shoulder, with enormous antlers spanning 12 feet. Current specimens only stand about 4.5 feet tall at the shoulder. Despite its name, this elk was found all over the world, from Asia to Europe. It got its name because near Dublin in Ireland, researchers found the remains of a perfectly preserved specimen. Since then, it has been called the Irish elk. The last one died in Ireland, and the main reason for its disappearance was its inability to adapt to the climate changes in its environment. When the Ice Age ended, the elk could not survive, and so, unfortunately, it became extinct. Somewhere deep in the forests of Costa Rica, there lives an interesting creature called the golden toad. This species was discovered in 1966. The toad would gather to mate and reproduce. The large population of this golden gem was noticed in that same location, but the following year, only 10 to 11 toads were found. By the next year, only a solitary male toad appeared. For years, searches were conducted in an effort to find the golden toads. In 2004, the toads were officially declared extinct, with the primary cause of their disappearance being a severe drought in the area where the toad lived. In the 1980s, the toads also faced significant impacts from a newly introduced fungus that eventually caused their skin to thicken. This fungus is responsible for the extinction of more than 90 species of frogs, making it one of the greatest threats to their existence. If you're enjoying this video, support us with a like. It helps us bring more prehistoric content. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Canada is a very cold country, so expecting tropical birds like parrots to live there seems practically impossible. However, believe it or not, there once lived a species of parrot, specifically in America in some parts of Canada. We're talking about the Carolina parakeet, which was a truly beautiful specimen, adorned with vibrant orange and green feathers. They typically lived in large trees. Interestingly, their favorite food was the seeds of the cocklebur plant, which are poisonous to humans, but But the bird had no trouble consuming them. After eating these seeds, their flesh became poisonous, and their predators paid the price. Literally, the Carolina parakeets became nearly deadly meals for their predators. It's important to mention that the Carolina parakeet was once a very abundant species, with literally millions of them. However, since the Ice Age, their numbers have dramatically decreased, mainly due to natural causes like temperature changes. By 1935, no Carolina parakeets were left in the world. The wild African lion of today had a larger and more notorious cousin. Let us introduce you to the Barbary lion. These gigantic cats were mentioned in many famous ancient books, where they were described as terrifying and cruel beasts. This was believed to be the largest lion species to have ever existed. These big cats weighed around 600 pounds, reaching a length of approximately 9 feet. Unfortunately, this lion was declared extinct in the 1990s due to several factors. Today, we have only one photograph of this animal, taken from an airplane. Paradise parrots were native to Australia, and they were truly incredible birds. They had captivating colors that made them unique and striking. Interestingly, they only nested in termite mounds. Quite curious, don't you think? However, this parrot was always on the brink of extinction, the reason for which is still unknown. Unfortunately, they were sometimes targeted by mice, rats, and other animals that hunted them. It is important to note that the last bird was seen in 1972, and since then, paradise parrots have only been seen in museums. If you found this species amusing, then you'll definitely want to see the next animal. It didn't have many colors, but it did have a peculiar and rather bulky physique. The Gulf of Mexico was once home to the Caribbean monk seal. This species of seal enjoyed spending time in the warm, subtropical climate of the Caribbean. Most of the time, they were found near reefs and islands searching for food. Like many of us, they also loved the beaches, and they were often seen resting in groups of 100 seals. Subsequently, in 1886, this species was declared extinct. Although today, you can still see this animal in 2 museums, both located in the United Kingdom. As we all know, zebras have black and white stripes, but there was once a species of zebra that had only half of its body covered in brown and white stripes, while the rest was just brown with a white belly. Can you imagine it? This peculiar zebra was called the quagga. It lived throughout much of southern Africa in grassy fields and wet pastures. Like today's zebras, it fed on grass and other plants. The last quagga perished in 1883, but not all hope is lost. Today, extensive research is being conducted to bring this animal back to life. If you thought this animal was strange, don't miss the species we'll talk about next. Australia is home to many extravagant animals, but perhaps the craziest of all were the gastric brooding frogs. This species was not like ordinary frogs that lay eggs. Instead, they hatched their young inside their stomach, later giving birth by vomiting out about 25 fully formed baby frogs. Sometimes their stomachs would swell so much that they had to breathe through their skin. On the other hand, 2 species of these frogs were discovered in northern and southern parts of Australia in the 1970s by Mike Taylor. A decade after their discovery, both species had disappeared. The reason for their extinction was the chytrid fungus. Fortunately for them, significant efforts are currently underway to bring them back to life. So would you have liked to keep one of these frogs as a pet? Which of these animals would you choose to bring back to life? If you enjoyed this video, support us with a wonderful like and subscribe to our channel for more prehistoric world videos. See you soon.